Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. If you're a regular to my channel, you already know that relying on plant food only as vegans practice leads to nutritional deficiencies. Plant protein is inferior, missing certain essential amino acids, or at best, have all amino acids but some of the essential ones in extremely scant amounts. Plant protein is also less absorption and there's less bioavailability compared to animal protein. When we look at the omega-3 fatty acids in plant, we have essential omega-3 fatty acid, DHA, and EPA. Unfortunately, the omega-3, ALA, does not have directly DHA and EPA. This must be converted. And the background diet must be high in saturated fat to convert to long-chain metabolites like EPA, but it's only 6% the conversion. And for DHA, it's only 3.8%. Mind you, don't forget that this is with consumption of this with high saturated fat, which no vegans and pretty much all the population are encouraged not to consume. With a diet rich in omega-6 polyunsaturated fatty acids, this is further reduced by 40 to 50%. All of our populations have a diet that is extremely rich in omega-6. This is due to the population consuming an insane amount of toxic industrialized seed oils. Seed oils are oxidized and extremely high in polyunsaturated omega-6 fatty acids. It is thus important to observe a good ratio between your omega-6 and omega-3. You can do that by eating grass-fed ruminant animals and going after things like cod liver oil, cod liver in a can that has the oil inside the can. Grass-fed animals have a better ratio to omega-6 to omega-3. Unfortunately, if the ruminant animals are eating a very high grain-based diet, they're going to have higher omega-6 as well. So it is a huge challenge, even for people who are aware of the 6:3 ratio. It's very hard to balance that out. But it is even worse if you are a vegan trying to attain all of your DHA and EPA with ALA plant fat omega-3 versions. You're going to be talking about 3% to 1.7 conversion rates of DHA and EPA. This puts you in an absolute deficit in DHA and EPA. Of course, we have the single nutrient that vegans admit to not having, and that's B12. However, the extent of the deficiencies does not stop there. Plants have vitamin D2, while animals have a superior vitamin D3 that the body is able to use better. Plants are also missing vitamin K2 as well. When we're looking at the minerals, plants have non-heme iron versus animal food that has heme iron. Because heme iron is more easily absorbed from your diet than non-heme iron, vegans are often recommended to eat 1.8 times the normal recommended daily allowance. That said, more studies are needed to establish whether such high intake is needed. There's also issues with calcium, zinc, iodine. For calcium example, anytime you see calcium, zinc, or iodine, and there's another word like oxalate, for example, these forms are not very well bioavailable. They're poorly bioavailable and they have major issues. I'll also briefly mention the additional problems with consuming plant foods in high quantities, such as we see in the vegan diet. Additional problems are with the anti-nutrients that are found in plant foods. We have such things as phytic acid, glutens, tannins, oxalates, lectins, saponins. We have trypsin inhibitors. We have isoflavonoids. We have solanines. We have chokanines. And we also have endocrine disruptors, okay? So endocrine disrupting substances interfere with the normal function of the endocrine system and it does it in a number of ways. First of all, they can mimic a natural hormone and lock onto the receptor within that cell. The disruptor may give a signal stronger than the natural hormone, or a signal that occurs at the wrong time. They can bind to a receptor within a cell and thus prevent the correct hormone from binding. The normal signal then fails to occur and the body fails to respond properly. The disruptors can interfere or block the way natural hormones and receptors are made or controlled. If a substance stimulates or inhibits the endocrine system, then increased or decreased amounts of hormone are produced. In addition, small amounts of different endocrine disruptor chemicals may have a cumulative effect. In some cases, the byproducts of the chemicals may have a greater harmful effect than the parent chemical. However, the focus of this video is about vitamin A specifically. Plants do not have vitamin A, but instead have a provitamin, which is a precursor called beta carotene, which must be converted into a bioactive form called retinol. By the way, the vitamin A found in animal food is already in the usable retinol form. When we look at the beta carotene, this absorption rate for beta carotene in the general population can be anywhere from 65% to as low as a horrible 6%. This is where the possibility for a vitamin A deficiency comes into play, especially for vegans, since our bodies aren't as effective at breaking down plants into vitamin A. A diet that excludes all animal-based products could set the table for a vitamin A deficiency. This possibility increases when certain variants or mutations in our BCO1 genes are present. For those with genotypes associated with a reduced ability to gain vitamin A from plant sources, a vegan diet could present some nutritional challenges. People who consume large amounts of carrots develop carotenemia, and this occurs when beta carotene starts building up and the body's unable to convert it into retinol. So you literally turn orange. Therefore, common sense would say that vegans should be consuming larger amounts of beta carotene, whether it's from plants or supplements. However, there is a potential dark side to diets that are high in beta carotene. This was done at the Ohio State University, and it was later published in 2012 in the Journal of Biological Chemistry. And it does suggest that there could be health hazards associated with consuming excess amounts of beta carotene. Scientists have found that certain molecules that derive from beta carotene have an opposite effect in the body. They actually block some of the actions of actual vitamin A, which is critical to things like human vision, bone, skin health, metabolism, immune function, child development. Because these molecules derived from beta carotene, researchers predict that a large amount of this antioxidant is accompanied by a larger amount of these anti-vitamin A molecules as well. The findings also might explain why, in a decade-old clinical trial, more people who were heavily supplemented with beta carotene ended up with lung cancer compared to the group that was not supplemented. And this trial actually was ended prematurely because of these unexpected outcomes. The lead author of the University of Ohio State, the lead author of the study that we spoke about, said these material definitely have anti-vitamin A properties, and they could basically disrupt or at least affect the whole body's metabolism and action of vitamin A. Researchers showed that some of these molecules are produced when beta carotene is broken in a different place by processes that are not yet fully understood, and then act to antagonize vitamin A. What they found with these beta carotene derived molecules inhibit activation of the receptor by retinoic acid. From a drug point of view, vitamin A would be called an agonist that activates particular pathways. And these beta carotene derived molecules are actually antagonists. They compete for the site where the agonist usually binds, but they don't activate the site. They inhibit the activation that would normally be expected to occur. The scientists in the lab found that some of these anti-vitamin A molecules were present in every sample studied, suggesting that they are a common product of beta carotene metabolism. The compounds also have been found previously in things like cantaloupe, orange, and other fresh melons, suggesting humans might even absorb these molecules directly from their vegan diet. Scientists noted that the findings might explain the outcomes of well-known clinical trials that had scientists completely puzzled for years. In that trial, people at risk for lung cancers, smokers, asbestos workers, for example, were given very, very high doses of beta carotene over a long period of time in an attempt to lower that risk. The trial actually ended early because more supplemented participants developed cancer than those who received no beta carotene. This outcome was reinforced as well by a follow-up animal study. So GMO crops are being made for developing countries to produce higher beta carotene. A concern is that if you engineer these crops to have unusually high levels of beta carotene, they might also have high levels of these compounds. Individuals with higher levels of oxidative stress, well, considering that we are all eating seed oils, we are all under oxidative stress, among tons of other things that could cause the oxidative stress, but the high omega-6 consumption in seed oils is a major, major driver of inflammation and oxidative stress. And it says that individuals with higher levels of oxidative stress, it can lead to even higher production of these anti-vitamin A molecules. Now, symptoms of vitamin A deficiency, a lot of effects on our eyes, basically. It can cause a night blindness even. And there's tons of stuff. Like it can dry out your eyes. Your eyes can become crusted. That can like damage your cornea and your retina. It actually makes you more prone to infections when you have a vitamin A deficiency. There's something called Bitot spots. This condition is a buildup of carotene in the eyes, and it causes a form of hazy vision. It can also cause all sorts of skin irritations, dryness, itchiness, scaly skin. There's also an eye disorder involving the drying and the clouding of the cornea. I think I had mentioned that. This is a process by which cells become filled with carotene. So not only that, your cells can just become full of with keratin protein. Then the cells die and they form tough, resistant, like fibrotic structures, and this can happen in your urinary, gastrointestinal tract, respiratory tract. It also causes, along with many other deficiencies from a vegan diet, can severely stunt the growth of children, as well as causing fertility problems in women. So, in closing, we see the dilemma vegans are in, and they don't even realize it. One is from ignorance of these actual facts, and second is turning a blind eye once the facts are brought to their attention. The issue is that this can be an actual global problem if vegans and the likes of Bill Gates, World Economic Forum's Klaus Schwab get what they want and enforce a vegan dystopia on everyone. Just like Nutrivore's YouTube channel and his famous quote, which said, "We can just throw meat eaters into prison and feed them whatever the fuck diet we want them to eat."
And imagine to say to her that no, you only have to eat animal plant products. You cannot eat milk.
Yeah, it becomes very complicated. At that point in time, I mean, from an ethics standpoint, I mean, from an ethics standpoint, what we would see, or how we would identify this person is just like a compulsive kind of almost murderer, right? Like they're going out and they're just compulsively killing, or at least participating in a system that leads to the systematic slaughter of like thousands and thousands of sentient beings. So like ethically, we would just kind of probably incarcerate this person and then feed them whatever the fuck diet we wanted. We would just force a vegan diet on them by incarcerating them. I mean, that would be a solution to the problem. Sure, they have an eating disorder, but like I think that would be like secondary to the harm that they're causing as a consequence of their eating disorder. I would sooner just like separate them from society so that we could actually just like isolate them and feed them what was most compliant with our society's ethics.
So, vegans risk vitamin A deficiency because of the 6 to 65% absorption rate for beta carotene to retinol. That is further reduced by 40 to 50% if you do not consume that beta carotene with actually high amounts of saturated fat. Saturated fat, that's not happening with vegans. They are the most fat phobic people I've ever seen. Then, if they want to increase the beta carotene through their food or their supplementation, they create these beta carotene derived anti-vitamin A molecules, which further exacerbates the risk of vitamin A deficiency. In addition, those deficient in vitamin A that will rely on supplementation of beta carotene increase their risk of cancer, as we saw in the study that we spoke about earlier. So roughly 1% of the global population are vegan, which adds up to about, I guess, 80,000 delusional people roaming the earth eating rabbit food at one time. Imagine how many in a population with BCO1 gene variants that cannot convert beta carotene. Because retinol will no longer be consumed by humans anymore, those genetic outcasts will have to sacrifice their health and live at the altar of veganism, all in the name of compassion.
Probably incarcerate this person and then feed them whatever the fuck diet we wanted. We would just force a vegan diet on them by incarcerating them.